Thank you very much, gentlemen. One of the most exciting days in the history of Worlds. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Whether or not any of you believe it, it's a fact for me.
Definitely Western perspective. I think
that's true.
For, like LMS region, maybe they cared a lot more for Season 2 when they won the World Championship. I think it goes back and forth.
But I think I can even divorce any sort of regional ties and say the favorites went down. The favorites were down and out and eventually finished first, but Gen.G are eliminated. When it comes to our expectations and now the hype levels for the future days, feels like anything is possible.
That's what it is for me, right? It's about that expectation. It's about things feeling predetermined, and then all of that goes out the window due to some incredible performances from multiple individuals across multiple different teams.
Yeah, and I think the two Western teams in this group looked so good, and I know everyone is super bummed Vitality couldn't continue on. I know I was pretty sad about that, but just how good of a fight that they put up today, going 2-1, it was super impressive.
We'll talk about them more in a little bit, but first we got to get through this tiebreaker between Cloud9 and RNG, and man, was it hard fought for both of these teams vying for that first seed out of the group.
We just ran out of adjectives to describe some of the games. Slobbernaga, slugfest, all those words.
Yeah, what's
fit.
this one?
This one went to and fro, and right till the end, it looked like Cloud9 will complete the Cinderella story and make it all the way to first. The brawls never ended.
Yeah, and the brawls never ended, and they were always super close. It was always 2 dead on one side, 3 on the other, 4 dead here, 3 dead there.
But surprisingly even, right? It looked like again and again Cloud9 would be out-traded, but Zilean would come in, a Thresh W would come through, and they managed to trade evenly, and then the Barons were really close as well.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of C9, this game looked like they had the better comp for fighting, but they always felt like they were slightly getting outfought. Like a big Syndra stun would come through, or they would burn the Zilean all early and then still be able to skirmish very well. But it did feel like this game that was super, super close, back and forth. This call by RNG almost cost them the game, but they were able to get out. And then this was the C9 call at Baron that ultimately, oh wait, no, this isn't quite that one yet. This one was
understandable. There were a lot of them.
Yeah, there were a lot of them. This one was just a super close fight.
Very much so, very much so. Like you said, when C9 gets that, 4 out of 5 kills around the Baron the first time, things looked good. Maybe got a little complacent or not, it's hard to say, but this fight here.
Finally, Uzi gets to use the Essence Reaver to its maximum potential on Lucian, a luxury item for some, but able to ice skate around like years past. And gotta say, that moment was probably very important for Uzi in particular, because it's been a pretty ordinary day for the guy who looked a step above
Look at
all
that
the
gold
other
grab.
AD carries.
Oh my God.
The gold
What is
grab
that?
tells you that until what, 40 minutes into the game roughly, it was about 1,000 gold difference.
Right.
Yeah, and Ming finally found an engage that forced C9 to blow all their defensive cooldowns on multiple targets, because that was the thing before, is they would always get it onto one, but then you have the Zilean ult, and a great engage by Ming sets up Uzi to go crazy in that team fight.
Yeah, and while RNG does end up as the first seed in this group, we have to recognize this incredible day 2 put together by Cloud9 as a team. Let's recall all the way to the point where they were 10th place in the NALCS, middle of the summer split. And they just played a tiebreaker against the tournament favorite for the first seed out of the group. That's insanity to me.
It just is showing how crazy Worlds is. Anything can happen at any point, and it's always been true, but you never know where the craziest storyline's coming from, and that's what makes group stage for a lot of people one of the most fun parts of the tournament.
And I love the peaks and troughs as well, because Cloud9, like you said, they were down and out, they were 10, then they rose, and everyone was saying, okay, they're actually secretly the favorites for the NALCS in the finals, 3-0 for Team Liquid. And even if you think about play-ins, they were down there as well, almost didn't even make it to this stage.
Right,
So
they were the 5-game series to get through.
But that's the exciting thing about rookies, is you can never expect too much from them or also underplay them too much. And you got to see the best of the roster over today especially. And that's the cool thing about the second half of Worlds groups. It rewards the clutch. And somehow it was Cloud9 in the clutch, although at the last, not able to get
I was going to say, ultimately, RNG prevails to secure that #1 seed. And to hear more about the #1 seed, Shox is standing by for an interview with the RNG support.
Thank you very much, guys. I am here with Ming after RNG in the final hour locks that first place in the group. And the first thing I need to ask you about, Ming, is that game-changing, game-winning, and first-place-winning Rakan ultimate at the end around Baron. Can you tell me about the move and about what happened in the team?
想问一下，你最后那波团战，你的一个制胜关键的一个落的大招当时发生了什么？
当时是因为他们既然是上波是用了闪现的，然后当时他在那里给他们锤石升级嘛，然后当时看到他站着不动的时候，一瞬间就觉得可以就直接开了吧。
So they know that Zilean uses flash in the last team fight, so his flash is down, and also he was trying to level up Thresh. And so he was standing there and he caught a chance and just went for the opportunity.
Okay, easy as that. Well, Ming, it's been an absolutely crazy group stage and day also so far. What is your opinion on the team you just beat, C9, and them making it to the quarterfinals above a team like Genji was so favored?
就是我们这个小组其实特别，你跟所有队都打了，然后也是个很难的小组。然后刚刚那支队伍 C9也特别的顽强。也想问一下你，就是你对 C9这支队伍怎么评价？
其实我觉得C9的话，跟我们这个组内的所有对手都是蛮强的嘛。C9今天也打出他们全部的，我觉得很高的水准了嘛，就大家都发挥得很好。但是今天自己也是没处理好自己的东西嘛，就状态也不是特别好，所以就没打好。然后C9我觉得就他们真的特别强吧，我觉得。
It feels like everyone in this group is super competitive, and definitely C9 was showing up and performing their at their best. Even though RNG was they made a couple of mistakes, but he feel like all the opponents were real super good.
When you came into this tournament, it was all about RNG and KT, the absolute favorites for the rest of the tournament. Does your approach from yourself for the rest of the tournament change now that you know that you are a bit more vulnerable than people had thought?
那么之前可能大家以为 RNG 和 KT 是夺冠最大热门，然后不可战胜。那么经过这个小组这么疯狂的一天，然后你们输过几场比赛，想问一下你接下来看待这个世界赛你会怎么看？
其实我们自己队伍也是没有说一定要那个什么就有夺冠那种心情嘛，因为会把自己看得太高了。然后自己的话，今天输了的话，就给大家提醒一个警钟嘛，就给每个人嘛，对自己啊，还有包括队员还有教练都大家提醒一下嘛。然后对于后面的自己的失误还有处理方面，游戏上面都会要更加的细心，更加去关注还有仔细吧。然后自己状态也得调整好吧，我觉得。
So they didn't set a high expectation of winning everything. They don't want the overwhelming pressure on themselves. However, he feel like moving forward, they have to fix their problems. So they have to be more cautious. And this couple defeats is a good reminder to them, to keep cautious.
Yes, and keep the eye on the prize. Fantastic play here in the last game. Congratulations, Ming. Thank you very much, Wenson. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Keeping their eye on the prize. But going down the line from today's games, here were today's MasterCard players of the game. Starting with Vitality's Jack Troll, C9's Licorice, Vitality's Cabochard, C9's Zazel, C9's Licorice, RNG's MLXG, and the tiebreaker player of the game is Xiaohu.
And I gotta say, Xiaohu in that last game had some monstrous stuns on the C9 engages to stop them from ever being able to actually definitively win those team fights, still having a good landing phase. But looking at this, man, I don't think anyone expects to see three C9 players on there.
Surprisingly, no 80 carries on the list. That's the only role not represented, and that's the role that some people are saying is the most important role if you had to choose one in Worlds 2018. So all about the playmakers today, less about the damage.
I was going to say that's very true, but we've also had those conversations around strengths and weaknesses for teams, and we have pinpointed very different strengths and weaknesses depending on which team you're looking at. And so in some ways, I'm not so surprised that with Vitality winning and Cloud9 winning games today, that we see a little bit more of that diversity in where the player of the game is going.
And I do think, though, with the marksman role, I was surprised to see Uzi in this game continue on to the Lucian pick. And then, 30 minutes in the game, I was like, thank God he does not have Kai'Sa, because he would have crushed these team fights, much harder to execute on Lucian, a little bit less agency, I think. And you understand why he does it when MLXG is in. They're diving turret at 6 minutes, of course. But it does feel like, against really good opponents, I don't know if they're able to blow the game open quite like they want to.
My favorite takeaway, though, is you think about Kai'Sa scaling, of course, reducing scaling by going the Lucian. I think that everyone's meta read, even RNG and Genji, who were eliminated, but for different reasons, I don't think anyone is as sure about the right way to play. Can you go for Kai'Sa first pick every game? The answer by the end of today was definitely no, at least in Group B. But when it comes to future days, they will be informed by today. But I don't think too many people are going to be repeating Echo and Zillion and some of the pocket picks. So the wider interpretation of what today's results mean for the meta still is up in the air.
Her win rate is honestly atrocious for how high her priority has been up to this point in the World's group stage. And we'll have to, again, continue to track where teams decide to shift their weight and throw their priorities in the coming days. After today's games, though, we've got RNG exiting groups in first, with Cloud9 in second, Vitality in third, despite their very valiant day, and the reigning champions exit in fourth.
I think this was the craziest group for the West we've ever seen. Both Vitality and Cloud9 coming up huge. Forced a giant EU versus NA battle to get out.
Right.
Was the first team in the entirety of Worlds 2018 to actually secure a quarterfinal matchup. C9 did get the better of them, but it was super hard fought.
And in the end, the Vitality Misfits kind of comparison, of course, it's one stage earlier than Misfits qualified, but you do feel robbed a little bit that we won't be able to see Vitality in a best of 5. A few days for Yamato to find a new bag of tricks and really put together some new picks would have been amazing. But of course, the secondary takeaway, Gen G out 1-5, worst performance by any Korean team from 2013 onwards. Think about the history of Samsung Galaxy, now Gen G. Twice world champions, twice out in groups, and 1 runners-up. That's about as eclectic a group of finishers you could ever think of.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of people were expecting a lot more out of Gen G, and knowing how many great teams there are in Korea, I think a lot of people are going to be very disappointed that, you know, it was Gen G who ended up making it here. I expected so much more. We know how amazing Griffin is. Everyone was super hyped to see those guys. And then I think Gen G mostly came out here and were extremely disappointing.
And my big takeaway is in terms of what we saw in Korea, which was this last summer was dubbed the new generation, okay? Mostly about teams that aren't here, like Griffin, for example. But you think about what Gen G did. They won the World Championship. They came back with an unchanged roster. That was the big takeaway. Haru's back. He's the starter now. Ambition's still around. You don't think they're going to return in 2019 spring with the same roster. The influx of young talent on other teams is clear. And by the end, with Crown kind of struggling for relevance, with neither of the junglers really impressing, you have to feel like a rebuild is going to happen. And maybe it signals kind of out with the old, in with the new.
And definitely rebuild around Ruler, because despite how bad the rest of Gen G looked and QV being up and down a little bit, like Ruler looked like a stud. He had some amazing games. You know, everyone might remember that one time he didn't flash quite right against a Scion, but that would overlook all the other amazing outplays that he has had in this tournament.
Yeah, and what really speaks to me about all this that you're talking about, Papa Smithy, you mentioned it just briefly, is the idea of rookies, because you've got so much experience on the Gen G roster that you would expect to come back and perform with kind of that composure of a world championship team. On the flip side, Vitality, 3 rookies. And those were, a number of times the ones that impressed the most.
Yeah, Jizuke in particular, everyone's been talking about him, the amazing Echo pick, but I mean, everyone else really doing a great job stepping up. Jack Troll, someone who some people give a lot of criticism to, but his Thresh was a bit of a revelation on day 2 and was a huge part in a lot of their wins.
Finally, an adjective we haven't used today that I think applies to kind of your point that you're leading to, Dash, is exuberance. Youthful exuberance, a very famous term about young players who are willing to try new picks, are willing to pick up things and adjust. That was shown in spades by Cloud9, by Vitality especially. Then you think of Gen G, and when they were Samsung Galaxy, KSV into Gen G, the reality always was we have 4 or 5 champions we all play. Everyone kind of knows what they are, but our macro is clean and we'll get there eventually. Already, that's not the meta right now. You need to play up-tempo. And in a day of adaptation, it shouldn't be a surprise that when they were really pushed to extremes, felt like they didn't really have the reserves to hang up.
It really feels like more than anything, that willingness to try something new is going to be a requirement for teams as they push forward throughout this tournament.
Yeah, best of 5s coming up next week. Like, you're looking at these games and how much adaptation happened today, just even with RNG, C9 flipping their styles around. There are so many different things that these teams can do, and I think this should be a wake-up call to anyone who's kind of like defaulting through draft, like, let's pick Urgot top, let's pick this in the jungle.
Right.
Here, Ryze, Syndra, Blind sounds good. Like, that's probably not going to work at all in the best.
Cannot rest on your laurels in this tournament. To hear more about their up and down day, let's hand it off for an interview with the Vitality coach.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm here with Yamato, and first up, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I know this must be an incredibly difficult moment, so I'm just going to open the floor to you to say what you want about the events of the day.
I think today was an absolute roller coaster. We had an idea of what we would expect, RNG and top form, and we wanted to just beat C9 and Gen G and go past the group in that fashion. But today has been, I don't know what the odds were that the day played out like it did. Us beating RNG was an absolute rush. Trying to remember how it felt like just makes my legs shake. But at this point, we fell through. I mean, we didn't do enough against Cloud9. They played very, very well. They beat the Asian teams as well. I think they deserve going through for sure. We played our hearts out for sure, and we did our absolute best.
I mean, I think there's time for review and everything later, but for now, I'd like you to speak about your rookies and veterans, that team that came here that nobody expected anything from and that really amazed the world. What do you have to say about them?
I'm unbelievably grateful. All these moments I've shared with these guys the past year has been, I can't explain how much it means to me. I felt for the first time, you know, I've worked with a lot of teams in the past, and I felt like with these guys we could conquer anything. We had so many people telling us what we can and cannot do, and that's the background everyone here comes from. This doubt fueled us, and I have so many good memories of working with all of these guys, and I'm just unbelievably grateful. It's absolutely crazy to think about how much we've accomplished in just a year. I think it's nuts to think about that these guys were playing the finals of some Spanish tournament last year. I got nothing bad to say about the Spanish tournament, but there's a big difference with the World Championship. And I'm just unbelievably grateful. I want to thank all my players with all of my heart that for all these memories that we've built together. And I know for every single one of them that this is just the beginning.
This is just the beginning. You did Europe proud, even though it hurts right now. You also told me you wanted to say something to the remaining EU teams in the tournament. Go ahead.
I think Europe and teams in general, it was always this chase. There was this chase about catching up to Korea, catching up to China, always trying to learn from them. But something that I've realized is that, you know, the inspiration that everyone got from Misfits, that 5-game series where they did their own thing, they came in with their own idea and they showed up big time. That was my philosophy coming into this year all around. We brought our own flair, and G2, when they showed up in their style, they're winning. When Fnatic are doing their style, they're winning. Just stay true to yourselves. Do not try to chase anyone. Don't try to copy anyone. Just be confident. Don't limit yourselves either. Go into this tournament, play your next games, believing that you can fucking win everything. That is the mentality you need to have to conquer the best. Because anything is possible if you just believe and play with confidence and stay true to yourselves. So do that for me, Europe. Please.
Well, you guys are the living example of that. Even though the road ends here, we cannot wait to see what Vitality brings. And of course, the biggest congratulations, yet it is a sad one, to you for what you have managed to show here in this group. Thank you so much for talking to me, Yamato. Back over to you guys.
Thank you, Shaks. A heartfelt and passionate interview from Yamato, citing the Misfits Worlds run from last year as kind of being the birth of the philosophy that he would then use and utilize in directing this Vitality team.
And like he was saying, you know, they've already pointed out how all 3 teams at Worlds this year kind of also following up on that with G2's crazy 1-3-1 focus and Fnatic's early game, how aggressive they are, also swapping between their top laners, having their own unique flair between the two of them. Like, they are clearly understanding what is the most likely way to get wins at Worlds, as opposed to just copying the teams that are better you and then maybe doing it worse than them.
And that kind of my takeaway from that, because obviously Korea has always been talked about as playing the perfect game, right? And not necessarily about not letting up any turrets or drakes, but the slow game, the responsive game, making no mistakes and just having it be a very clean game. But I think the perfect game and your perfect game are proving to finally be a different thing. I think some of the things Riot's done with the meta, removing vision, and just making the game more brawl-heavy does allow you to make mistakes, but largely still advance forward rather than single picks at 10 minutes deciding the game. And I think that's what Yamato's trying to get to is, don't just look for an ideal, look for something that always pushes you forward. But as you move forward, you can take down giants of League of Legends, as we saw today.
Don't chase their style, create your own. We'll see if Group A can deliver similar hype with our games tomorrow. For Game 1, it's Freak of Freaks versus Flash Wolves, and after that, G2 get their chance at Revenge versus Fongbu Buffalo. And like today, those teams will duke it out over the course of the day until only 2 are left standing. For a reminder on how that group stands, we've got Flash Wolves and G2 Esports at 2-1, with Fongbu Buffalo and a Freak of Freaks at 1-2.
This was supposed to be the group that was the most ripe for tiebreakers, that was the closest, and you look at it now and you just wonder what it could be packed with for tomorrow. Afrika Freaks look much better in their third game, but what will be informed from today is already a small question, and where the group will end up feels like no one knows.
Yeah, and I think what's super cool too is how much focus there is in top lane there. Zeros, Wunder, and Keen all popping off really, really hard in a lot of their most recent games, and I want to see how they all shake out tomorrow because they'll play multiple games in a row in the same way that the bot lane meta felt like it developed today with like going away from the Kai'Sa. I want to see what happens in the top lane tomorrow.
It is sure to be an exciting day, just as today was. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for riding that wild ride with me all day.
It was a lot of fun.
We made it, baby, and we're back here again tomorrow. That's going to do it for us here. Now for myself, the cast, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for more Worlds 2018.
Vitality, Cloud9, and Gen G all working so much today.
C9 and Vitality, there's a real chance that they can actually get out of this group.
We're on to the rift. Vitality versus RNG. 2 shots on attack roll. Heal comes out from Attila. Oh, the Void Seeker! Uzi is a god! A nice hook onto Karsa. Beautifully stopping the hit onto Jizuke. They get a quick kill onto him. Turning the fight now onto RNG. They are getting wiped off the map, and Vitality's putting on a game clinic right now.
Focus the Nexus. Focus the Nexus.
After last game, do we actually know what's going to happen? Can Cloud9 stir things up here?
Oh, look at him. Mid lane, though,
Nice damage to start things off. Crown very low. A few more auto attacks coming in, and it's going to be first blood for Jensen in the mid lane.
Oh,
Mid lane immediately, and you gotta be paranoid if you're Crown right now.
Look at the Crick on, Nice. Go.
Nice. This is a must-win game. Lose here to Vitality, Gen G are out of Worlds.
He's got the knees going, Cube is low, and there's the fear beyond death. A flash over is quick, Jizuke keeps himself alive, but no. Yes, the distortion back, and the Glacial Fissure. Nice nether grasp over on a Jackstraw, but he goes right back in and says, I'll have another. Kickus takes down Cube. It's now a 1 for 2, a 3 kill now. Attila's going for it. He says, King me, one more reset as he jumps forward.
Things could even get crazier, Deficio. There is a way they finish number 1 in the group.
A shot finds Lemmy, 5v3, Uzi's gone as well, the clip is empty!
Good job, boys.
We are going to lock in the first team of the quarterfinals for Worlds 2018, and would you believe it, it's Team Vitality from Europe or Cloud9 from North America.
And he's trying, the bomb means first blood, he's gonna go down, time winds down, Jensen gets it, Zazel dropped to 100, the flash!
I'm a trundle.
5v3, the push continues, the taunt, the attempted kill, they're gonna shut down Vitality, and Cloud9 pass the group of death and qualify for the quarterfinals. But wait, Uzi brings in the reinforcements, and they're going for everything. What a teleport, 4 kill! Royal never give up. The MSI champions are punching their ticket to the quarterfinals.
Lucian the flash.
I spent you, Sneaky. I spent you.
Okay. This 1 HP, 1 HP.
5v4, RNG on the chase, into the back line goes MLXG, and it's Sneaky just staying alive, but the kill come through. They fought tooth and nail. Royal are battered and bruised, but they will come out of the group of death as the first seed.